we need to integrate. We need to find ways of partnering to make that value proposition work. And at the moment, it's not enough of it.
Okay, I'm here with Andre Wegner, who is the CEO and founder of Authetise.
Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, for those who don't know, what does Authetise do?
Workflow software for additive. So big additive users use us to manage the kind of order in through shipment out process. We capture all the data in the process, make it more efficient. And latterly, we started expanding into trying to use that data to do some pretty fancy things.
Okay, so what sort of industries, what verticals are your customers in then?
Well, pretty much any of the big verticals that are adopting additive. So aerospace, medical, space, and now we're talking to more automotive companies and industrial appliances. So as the adoption curve of additive, we just follow that trend. Mm-hmm. Pretty much anybody who puts through more than $2 million of labor and material a year, that's who we work with.
So you mentioned data then. I mean, you're in a great position to really get that 1,000-foot view of what's going on in the industry and what people are actually doing, what's really sort of happening. Mm-hmm. What can you say about that?
Well, it's just changing the corner. This is the kind of first event where people have started talking to me about producing millions of a part in a year. So we're actually now at the higher level. We're seeing that as much as the process was about making things more efficient, it was efficiency at a relatively small scale. And now we're talking about much higher levels of efficiency at much greater volumes. So that's one of the definite trends that I've seen. I've also seen people be more concerned about quality and compliance and using the data for that. So that's quite interesting just from a maturity standpoint of the industry, right? Also shows that things are growing. But then there might be a bias. Maybe I'm talking to and seeing data from companies that are going to be following those trends, and those who aren't, maybe the majority of them just don't interact with us.
There's a bunch of companies out there using whatever the open office version of Excel is.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, that was a bit loud. It's so interesting. And as you just mentioned, Excel, I think that a lot of the kind of lot size one operations, the additive is really kind of an interesting case that we can learn from, because it has a high need for agility. It's lot size one. It has more data, maybe less legacy because it's kind of a new production device, although the tools have been around for a while. And it's just interesting, I think, to hear others talk about how can we help other kind of verticals understand what we've learned in this industry over the last 10 years. So it's really Formnext 2021 is us growing into our own. That's what it's about, despite the fact that COVID gave us a massive shock.
Now, Authetise, you're based in the US, is that correct?
Yes.
But you have customers across the world.
Yeah, and we just started a UK operation, and we have 11 people in the UK now. So yeah, we are global, and really, if you're talking about additive users that have a strong additive use, those guys are always going to be global, right? There's very, very few that are going to stay regional.
Is there any distinction you can make geographically between how companies in general are applying additive? Is it used in a certain way, for example, in Europe compared to North America?
It's an interesting case. I'm not sure about the distinction between Europe and North America. There's certainly one in terms of not in use, but there's certainly one in terms of R&D, right? A lot of the metal machine manufacturers started their life under the European auspices of grant and support that you can get in the EU, and are maturing and growing and scaling in the US. But there's another difference too, in that Japan, despite its heavy industrial base, doesn't have such a strong presence in the additive market, and one of the reasons for that is that Japan doesn't have a defense industry, and because of its pacifist nature, that these are all it's ideas. There might be completely different reasons, but we definitely see that the kind of initial demand is driven by high value applications that may well be defense based.
Gotcha.
And Japan doesn't have them. So
okay. So what do you think's missing from the current additive landscape that you'd like to see?
Well, I'd like to see more integration. What I'm really missing is that somebody can throw something, an idea at the beginning and come out with a part that they love, right? And I think everybody's missing that.
Yeah.
And really, anybody who claims, we're still too many single booths, prizing that same idea, not working together.
Okay.
And I just don't think that you're going to get that end-to-end workflow with a single company. That's just not going to happen, right? So you're going to have lots of different people working together. And we need to integrate. We need to find ways of partnering to make that value proposition work. And at the moment, it's not enough of it.
Right, gotcha. And how about the next 5 years? Where would you like, or where do you see additive going?
At the current rate, I see no reason why it should suddenly explode. I'm excited because the incremental 40% growth that we've had, 30% growth that we've had in certain industries has accumulated, and so that we do have a few examples of millions of parts being printed. But I don't see us going from 40% growth to a billion plus % growth overnight, and that has various reasons. So I think the best means of impact that the industry has is to take stock of what we've learned over the last 30 years, and especially the last 10 as we've been trying to mature it into production, and take those learnings and apply them to other non-additive industries, because we have a lot to teach, as I said earlier. And I think there's a lot of room for machining, jigs, tools, fixtures, even injection molding, to learn a thing or two about the way we handle data, the things we're learning. Use additive as a sandbox to teach the rest of the industry what to do.
And you mentioned the UK expansion. What else is going on with Authetise?
So we're excited. Tomorrow we're announcing some of the things we've been working on in the grant world, and those, there's several buckets that are coming towards us. And what's interesting for me there is that we've been very focused the last 5 years to make a tool that the operator loves, and that's because the operator needs to have, we're relying on the operator to give us data, right? So much data is still being generated manually. There's some that comes from the machine, but all the post-processing steps are still manual. So you really got to have operator buy-in if you want to create a full digital thread, right?